Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to CPS's Automate Your Project Reporting with Project and Power BI. We are just past midday, so we'll give it a couple more seconds and then we will kick off. Most of today is show and tell. There's a few slides at the top and tail, but we will try and keep you engaged by moving the mouse around, is probably the way to put that. So this session will be recorded, and you'll be able to access this recording afterwards. And there are some links that we will need to send out to you as well. So one of the things we want you to be able to take away from today, and in fact, I may as well, I think I'll turn my webcam off for the moment, and then we can start this way. There we go. Okay, so let's go to this place. All right, so I always like to start our sessions with what you're going to get from attending this session. So we're going to talk about what happens afterwards at the beginning. The first thing we're going to chat about is how and why people are managing work. We're going to talk about the technology options that are available to you to help you manage that work more effectively. We'll do a look-see, so we'll dive into the technology and actually do a bit of a quick demo, and then we'll talk about what your next steps could be around this. So one of the things that you will get after with this is actually how you could potentially set up what I'm about to show you within your own Office 365 or Microsoft 365 environment. So as just before we're about to start, I have a couple of questions for you. There's just a very quick poll that I'm going to run. The first one is going to be about why you're attending. And so you can say, I'm attending today for what reason? So if you could just give us some feedback on that would be great. I'll just do that for a kind of about 15 seconds or so. And we've tried to give you some various questions. Finding out more about Microsoft's planning tools is the winning one at the moment at 53%. 24% are implementing a more formal set of project tools. 18% just looking. That's great. Education, you know, you should learn something every day, as they say. 5% is other. So no, thank you very much for that. That's great information to understand why people are here. So the other item to just look at is what project tools do you currently have? And what are you using to actually manage your projects? I would say that over the years, Excel has been the favored tool for this kind of thing. It's available on your desktop. You don't have to pay for it either, and it's really familiar for people. Project Online and Project Desktop obviously come close second to that, and obviously Project for the Web, which has been around for a couple of 3 years now, realistically, is kind of starting to build steam. So build ahead of steam is where I was going with that one. So okay, that looks like we finished that one. So Excel, that is the popular choice, and I'm really glad about that, because in my slides we actually start to speak about kind of what I talk about is Excel hell, or perhaps more of the kind of zombie side of things when it comes to Excel. So let's move on to that. So everyone manages work, you know, and you're looking to understand obviously what your resources are up to, what tasks you have, how your teams are working, and what time is being spent on all of the work that's going on. You'll notice that I didn't say project, because for some organizations, you know, using the term project can be a bit scary, but everyone does a project. You know, everyone runs projects all the time. You know, it has a defined start and end and a bunch of outcomes. That's really the simplest way to think about a project. And then how do we want to, or where does the work need to be managed? And you've got individuals, you've obviously got the team side of things, you've got a project. So you end up with this matrix of how you want to manage and who you want to manage and how that's going to work. So we think about the governance across all of the work that we have going on in our organizations. So thinking about that to the next step, Microsoft has created a number of work management tools over the years. We're going to concentrate today on Project for the Web and Power Apps. and the Power BI side of things, of course, as well. But from left to right, you can see, from individuals who can have to do on their desktop, it's integrated into Teams as well. We have Planner for small group work. A great way if you're just coming together to plan something, not so interested in things like resourcing or dependency management. Obviously, everything's around Teams nowadays, and we will briefly drop into that about the integration with Teams and how you can see your projects and reports in Teams as well. If you are coming at this from a more software development side of things, you might be using Azure DevOps, you might be using Jira, for example, and Azure Boards. So, ways that you could actually start to integrate this reporting across these different tools can be achieved in Power BI. Still got Project Online, great product. CPS is still deploying that. You've still got Project on the desktop. And then Dynamics 365 has Project Operations, which is kind of focused on more of your professional services side of organizations. And then at the bottom, we do need to talk about licenses at some point. So some of the links afterwards have more details, but the things we're looking at today would require a project plan 1, 3, or 5, Power BI Pro, and a Microsoft E1, E3, or E5 license. You may not be very interested in licenses. I do understand that. But these are the licenses that if you're not from IT, for example, and you need to go and start speaking to them, then these are the type of licenses that you would need to consider. So one of the daily realities that we see for organizations is, and you'll notice there's a kind of zombie hand in the bottom right-hand corner there grabbing an Excel spreadsheet. One of the realities I often see is people are using Excel or Project, for example, and someone comes along and says, oh, I really need to summarize that data and put it into maybe one big Excel spreadsheet. Or then someone comes along and says, that's really nice, but we want it to look quite pretty and we'd like to put it into PowerPoint. Or maybe you even just forgo the summarization into a big Excel spreadsheet and put it straight into Project. And one of the things to notice about this screenshot is that all the arrows go one way. They only go to the right. There's no integration back. So when I take that data and I push it into Excel or push it into PowerPoint, it's kind of dead because I can't update it unless I update it back in the original source and then have to do all that work again. And as it says, that's really inefficient. It's really manual. It's horribly repetitive. It's not a great experience for the end users, whoever's having to do that. And there are ways that we can, by using different tools, that we can make that much, much better for an organization, much more efficient, better use of people's time, give people a better experience. Not just the people having to do it, but the people who are using that data to make strategic decisions in your organization. And of course, the other thing here is that when we use tools like Excel, it can be difficult to implement standards. So you may have one person who's using a risk log, but they've added an extra field. And so when you come to amalgamate that data, it just doesn't work very easily. You have to kind of play around with columns and what have you. I'm sure we've all been there. Maybe I should just have next time I should have a poll, which is, have you been here like this? Yes, no. So that's the reality. You may see that. If you want to talk to me about that at the end, then let's chat further. And what that kind of means is you get this disconnected data and you end up with your Excel spreadsheet on the left-hand side here. I'm sure you've all seen something like this. One row per project, you're capturing data around what's the progress, and do we have a red, amber, green indicator for, are we on schedule? Have we done enough work? What are the finish and end dates and what have you? And then someone comes along and says, that's great, but I'd like that in a beautiful kind of roadmap type view. So we then have PowerPoint, of course, and again we have that zombie hand kind of grabbing that data. So this is something I see on a daily basis, and the purpose of the webinar today has been really to get us quite quickly to a place where we can look and see something differently. So we talk about connected visibility, and we're going to talk about Project for the Web for our project scheduling. But that also means we have this central repository of all our data in one place. We have a resource pool. We can use Teams for collaboration on things like risks and issues, and obviously discussions and documents and everything. And we have a single project app where we could capture data. Sitting above that, there's something called Project Roadmap, which is a capability that's part of the project licensing. And then where we're really going to concentrate on today will be project for the website of things, the project app, Power BI, and the type of reporting that we can get out of that. And obviously we can then pull that into PowerPoint. You can embed that in PowerPoint nowadays as well, push it into a PDF, or if you want to do further analysis, you could even push it back out into Excel if you wanted to. So we have that, and there are options. We're not going to talk about it particularly in detail here today, but if you are using other line of business systems, if you're using things like Azure DevOps, then absolutely using the Power Platform, using Power BI, there are ways that you can aggregate this data and then have a singular view. So at CPS, for example, we do this day in and day out. I can't show you the data here, obviously, but our systems are all connected. So from finance to our Dynamics 365 for sales, so we can understand what our pipeline looks like. We can align that with what we're working on with our customers. We can then understand what our resource utilization is using project, and then we can use that all the way through to billing. So everything is interconnected. So again, it is possible to do it. It requires some effort. It's not the work of 5 minutes, but the time saving and the efficiencies are just incredible. At any point in the day, I can go and look at a customer, get a kind of 360-degree view. Who's talking to them? What work are we doing with them? What does our billing situation look like? So all of these things are possible. Today, we're just going to concentrate on that project bit and the reporting side of things. So last slide before I kick in to show you something. As I promised, we wouldn't do too many slides. So lots of benefits. Let's just go through these. Having all that data in one place, single version of the truth. You haven't got Excel spreadsheets everywhere. I recently completed a project with an NHS trust. We're on phase 4 of it now, so it's been running for a couple of years. They moved from having hundreds of Excel documents and hundreds of Word documents that they use to run their projects to now an app similar to that you're going to see today. And now they have one place where they can all go in, they can all understand what's happening with their projects and their programs. Obviously, there's full security and access controls against that, but it does give them that ability to see that data in a rolled up and summarized way, which then allows them to automate their reporting. So their reporting is updated kind of a few times a day, so they can see the latest status. And of course, if you are looking to track tasks and understand what people are working on, then you can do that, and you can update progress on that and really understand the current status of each of your projects and programs. Again, rather than having all that information in different places, we can use, in this example, we're going to use Teams to aid our collaboration on items such as documents, but also instant messaging and all the great things that you can actually do within Teams, of course. We do have options to allow people to record time against their projects. And of course, as you'd expect, project in the middle, you can do your project scheduling and planning. And of course, we have that repeatable ways of working. If you go back to what I said a couple of minutes ago, I was speaking about the fact that you have an Excel spreadsheet for risks, but person A has their version of the risk log, and person B has their version of the risk log, and maybe they're slightly different. So again, when it comes to reporting, you're not going to get that ability to really understand what's happening. All right, so as I have just said, that is enough of those slides. I'm just going to grab my environment. Let's pull that across here. There we go, brilliant. Okay. All right, so today what I'm actually in is, as an end user, I've got access to Project for the Web, and I've also got access to this project app. Now I'm using the Project Accelerator from Microsoft, and this is a predefined application which gives you a number of set capabilities we're going to look through. And after I've done this short demonstration, I'll talk you through those capabilities again, and we'll just talk about how you can gain access to this for your own environment if you wish to. I've got some demo information in here, so some of it will make sense, some of it won't. But the first thing is, I'm in this home page. And in the home page, I've actually got this dashboard view, and I can see how many project requests we have, how are we doing in terms of finances, what's our program health going like, and again, I have options if I wish to from here directly. I can expand these charts, make them a little bit bigger so they're a bit easier to see, and also if I wish to, I can scroll down and actually view the data associated with this. So now I've actually jumped into our project request. So what the project request is allowing me to do is to actually have a front door for my projects. Why would we actually do these projects? So many of you will have a governance process which says, yep, we need to do a project. Well, actually, do you even define what a project is in the first place? And I can come in here. Let's have a look at this one for reporting automation. And in my reporting automation, I get a form that I can fill in. This is all very configurable. And by the way, when I talk about configuration, I mean something where I can go into an administration screen with the correct level of authorization and knowledge and make a change. I don't need to do any development. There's no development here whatsoever. So it's reporting automation. It's a new item. And you'll see here we have pick fields as you'd expect. In fact, if I change this to approved, it will actually run a workflow using Power Automate Flow. So we're using the Power Platform again, and I'll actually convert it into a full project. I can give it things like a priority, so critical, high, moderate, and low in here. Again, these are all configurable. And what type of project is it? So in this case, it's for internal readiness, but it could be one of these other types. And then I can start to say, okay, who owns it? I'm logged in as someone called the mod administrator. It was requested by Lydia, and the executive sponsor is Alan. And you'll notice here as I kind of hover over these, it's using the information that it gets from your Active Directory, so I can see information about Alan here. I could put some details about this. What's the details and what's the business case? So again, I just fill in the information. And in this example, we also have a prioritization. So we can start to say, does it align to our strategy? Is it going to lower our costs? Is it going to improve employee retention? So again, back to that employee experience side of things. And then that will give us a score. So this information, again, it's configurable. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it, but it shows you an example of what you can do. So if I go back to my project request, there's my list of project requests, and I can see all that information, as you'd expect, in a kind of Excel style view. But the great thing there is it's all standard, it's all repeatable, very great ways of just being able to work simply and get all your project requests into one place. Now, within here, we have projects and programs. We'll talk very briefly about our program. So this is the ability, at its very simplest, if I have a program, I'm looking at a program of change, I'll have a bunch of projects that are going to deliver on that change. I have one called Employee UX. Actually, I'm going to use Customer Success Factors. There we go. And this tells me some information about this program. There are 4 active projects, 2 of them on track, 2 are at risk, no projects in trouble. But if we drill into this, you can start to see, I've got the form coming again, very simple, very easy to use, very easy on the eye. I can see some financial information about that. So my budget for this program is $1 million. We're hoping to get 2.2 million benefits out of it. And we also get an update. And this updated information is being rolled up automatically from the projects underneath. So here we can actually see the different projects that make up this program. We've got customer survey, end user training and refresh, user awareness, user survey. And in fact, from here, I could drill down straight into these if I wished. Now, again, these tabs at the top are allowing us to see information in different ways. And they are configurable, and you could add additional fields. Let's jump into projects. And in projects, of course, this is where most of you will be starting. You'll have an Excel spreadsheet like this maybe, okay? But actually, maybe you want to look at this in kind of different ways. So, you know, I can come in here. It's nice and easy for me to say, well, actually, in this view, I'd like to look at it by program. Let's just add that in. And very quickly, I could just create a grouping there, show me my active projects by program. Got that, that's nice. But you can see here, very, very straightforward for people to update, create their own views. And again, there are system views and personal views. So I can see things like my projects, closed projects, and so on and so forth. Now, the particular project I want to go down into is Pandemic Awareness Poster Program. So again, in this tabular view, I can see information at the highest level. And then as we drill down into our project, what we'll be able to actually see is more information about it. So what I've seen in the past is, you know, people will have an Excel spreadsheet per project, or they'll have some of the detail in Excel, and then they'll have some of it in a Word document, of course. What this allows me here to do, though, is see, okay, here's my pandemic awareness poster program. There's some summary information about this project. So it's a security project. It's being run by operations. It's active. It's at the managed stage, and it's got a moderate priority. Yeah, so various different bits of information. Who's the tech sponsor? Who's the manager? So on and so forth. So we have that. I can see schedule information that's being pulled up from the project for the web project schedule, and I can see the effort for the people associated with the work on this. Now, as we come across here, I won't go through every tab in lots of detail, but I could put details about the business case that we had chosen to put together for this. We've got some financial information here. So the budget for the project and the forecast and the actual cost to date. So we're capturing that again. Very repeatable ways of working, and very repeatable ways of capturing that data enables us to do much better reporting, as we'll look at in a moment. I can see what resources are working on it and how much effort they're expending and what they've left to do. Again, that's automatically coming from the tasks we're about to look at and the feedback from those individuals. And now if we look at the tasks, this is actually a project for the web embedded directly within this app. So in here, what I can see is I can see a grid view of the data associated with this particular set of tasks. These ones where they're crossed out, they're completed. We can see we've got some other tasks that still need to be done. We can see who's planned to work on them. We can see in these cases, the finish date, they're late, so it's showing up as red. So you've got all of the information that you might want. We even have labels that we can have now. So again, we have this ability to create our own labels and put those in here and then rename them as well. So if I wanted a dark blue one, I could do that and edit it and say in progress, for example. Okay. And again, that can be used for reporting, for filtering, yeah, and enable you to more easily manage your projects. And again, you'll notice here, this is very similar to using Excel. Yeah, so you've got one row per task. I can add additional columns, yeah, and I can just type in here. But if I want to, I can move to a board view. So the board view, if you're using Planner to do any kind of scheduling, then this is very similar, if not the same. You know, if I look at this particular task called select, I can put some notes against it. I can update the various different items. I can even put a checklist in here. So let's just go 1, 2, 3. And they're the checklist items I need to do, and I can say whether they're finished. And again, you then have that ability to say, well, I need to schedule or to create a task at a certain level, but actually maybe I just got some little items that I need to check off before that task is completed. So we can have that in there. So yep, from there we have that. Again, drag and drop. So I could then go, okay, that task is done. I'm going to put this one in to do. Yeah, so we have that, and various different views that we have. Maybe I want to look at it by progress, what's not started, what's in progress, and what's completed. I can create my own buckets. Got bucket 1 here to do done. If you've ever done a bit of agile ways of working, you can have done as well. Again, we can drag those around. And of course, I can get the classic kind of timeline view as well. So I have my Gantt view that's available to me, and I can see all of the dependencies and everything that's happening against this. So if I look at this task here again, if I wanted to, I can increase its duration. I can look at that task in different ways, see all the details around it. It's telling me that the digital change, well, put my teeth back in. The digital change task needs further refinement. So we can see that, yeah, and you can see what I've got to do on this. So really great ways of being able to create a project schedule. If you're new to it from Excel, it's pretty familiar, but you can then start to move and use the board and the timelines as well. You can even put priority if you wish. So yeah, that's our tasks. If I want to, I can open this in project. I'm going to open that in project, and then I'm going to come back to that in a bit. And then going back to the rest of the app, I can then capture things like risks and issues and changes. So for example, here's one of my risks. I'm doing a pandemic awareness post program. What happens if there's an issue with the availability of printers? And you can see again that type of information that we are collecting. So moving back there, again, very similar for issues and changes. And we can also track the status of our project. So again, many of you will create a status report, maybe on a weekly or monthly basis. So I might say July's update. I could put a reporting date, because obviously I'm saying I'm reporting it as of the 26th. And then I can put what we've accomplished, what we've planned, and any additional comments. The great thing there, again, you get the list of status reports as they progress. So you're able to see that throughout the life cycle of that project. You don't have to go hunting for another Word document. It's all here in one place. And like I said, it is very, very configurable, or further configurable based on your ways of working. Now, this is great. I put all this information into the project app, and I've created my tasks and put those into the task area, or the project for the web area. But now what I want to do is actually report. So the project app accelerator also comes with this report pack that you can utilize. You'll need Power BI Professional or Pro to use that. And there's a number of different reports. I'm not going to go through all of them. But here I can see my request dashboard. I'm sure many of you will have used Power BI, so you'll be aware of the powerful capabilities of it. But obviously there's all the sorting, grouping, and filtering capabilities you'd expect. I can see items such as my program financials. I could see timeline views. So let's look at the timeline for this particular set of projects. If I look at infrastructure upgrades and hover over it, I get some information about that. It's Alan's project. It's starting on the 11th of January, supposed to finish on the 12th of April, it's 94% complete, so on and so forth. So we can start to see all of that kind of data. And of course, you've put in items like your risks. So let's have a look at the risk dashboard. We can start to see that it's pulling the risks from across all of the projects. So again, it's that ability to summarize and look at the data from across everything that you're planning to do. And we can see that all the way down to things including my project timeline. So I could select a particular project by a particular project manager, for example. Maybe I want to see everything in the future, or everything that's late. Yeah. And so we have this great ability to see that. And I can even see things like my work and my timeline. So I could actually see when I'm supposed to be doing things. So again, in the future, you'll be able to see this data directly in your team's tasks. So individuals will be able to see this in the team's task area. That's coming this year on the project roadmap from Microsoft. So what we've seen there in about 15 minutes or so is that we have this ability to have a singular place for you to come along and capture your project requests, for example, in this accelerator example. look at all your programs, capture all your projects, understand what your resources are actually doing as well, and then report across that and get visibility across all of the work that's going on in your area or across your business as a whole. Now, I spoke very briefly to say that we'll talk about this in Teams. So I'm just in Teams in the web client here. I've got my projects team, but again, I could put this into each different. I could have it in different teams, or I could have it in different channels as well. But you'll notice here that I'm actually looking at the project here directly, the Pandemic Awareness Poster Program directly in here. And I can see all of the information that we have. There we go. And if I look at that, obviously I can see all the information. There's that dark blue one that I put in earlier. So it's updating directly there. And in fact, the project app is also available in here. So I can see the Pandemic Awareness Poster Program details directly in here. So if I want to stay within the Teams environment, I can actually use that and include those at the top here. So we have all of that information in one place. So if you have used Project Online in the past, then you'll have used Project on the desktop plus Project Web App, and then you'll have had data in SharePoint Online sites. Whereas now, with what we're looking at today, with the Power App, then you're able to have all of that project data, risks, issues, everything in one place, all your data stored in the Power Platform in something called the Dataverse. Don't want to get into too much detail around the technicalities of that, but it's part of what gets delivered when you actually have this particular item. Okay, so let's get back to our slides, even though it says enough for slides. So what we've looked at there is the project for the Web Accelerator. Now I meant to make this slide build and I forgot to, so you're probably reading ahead. The project for the Web Accelerator, it comes from Microsoft, and it gives you the items in the middle, that project request, the programs, risks and issues, changes and status. It also comes with that Power BI report pack that we've just looked at. And there's a bunch of links that you would need if you actually want to do that. So how do you get started with project for the web? Because you need that up and running first. We talked about the licensing considerations that you'd need to think about. And then it gives you the ability to go to GitHub, where you can actually download the accelerator solution that we just looked at today. And then there's some further information about getting started with the Project Power App, which is the Power App that we were looking at over the last few minutes. So plenty of you so something that you can take away from today, rather than just having heard me, if you would like to do more with this, then absolutely you could do that. You will obviously need to talk to your IT teams, or you can talk to CPS as well. One of the things, oh, didn't want that slide there. I'm going to come back to that slide. One of the things that we do for our customers, of course, is that we can actually help you get this up and running in the correct way. We have a couple of fixed price deployment options that are available for you. Typical kind of 2 to 5 days to get you up and running, giving you a little bit of advice and guidance and some kind of training. Obviously, you may want to forego that and go straight into looking at it in more detail and running like pilots. Maybe you need to think about actually what is it for us to run a project? What does that mean? And so again, we can help you further in terms of your project governance, all the way through to helping you run your PMO if you wanted to. But again, we've worked with the likes of WD-40 and Birmingham City Council on this. And in fact, Birmingham City Council recently ran a webinar with CPS themselves, Birmingham City Council and Microsoft all in attendance. I think we had about 70 odd people. So if you'd like to look at that, certainly that's available on our website for you to see. So like I said, there is something for you to be able to take away and look at this. I'm going to say firstly, thank you for your time today. I'm just going to check if we have any kind of questions. So yeah, we do have one particular question. Jeff, I might come back to you with a bit more detail. The question is, does it have the ability to generate a portfolio view? So yes, if you wanted to just have that singular view rolled up to like one line, shall we say, then you can do that within here, within the reporting. And I just showed you projects and programs, of course, but the reporting would allow you to group, sort, and filter the data in a number of ways. So if you wanted views that were by department or by project type, then again, that kind of data would be available. So I think Jeff might get you to drop me an email about that if you want, or I'll reach out to you afterwards just to get a bit more detail on what your expectations are. And then Mark Wilson is asking for tasks. Do all resources that tasks are assigned to need an E1, an E3, or an E5 license? You know, that's a great question. I had a session with Microsoft this morning about that. No, they don't. So recently, Microsoft made a change to project licensing, so that if you have an E1, an E3, or an E5 license, then and you as an individual have been assigned that task, you can actually see that task without needing a project license. I will try and find the link to that, but absolutely. In fact, not only can you see the task, I think that's rolled out now, but if you've got an E1, an E3, or an E5 license, and you're allowed to see the project through the groups and assignments of you to that to that project, you can see that in a read-only view without the need for a license as well. So yeah, it's really opening this change in licensing is really opening up project to many more people in the organization. So the project people can do their work, schedule, do the reporting, capture risks and issues and what have you, whereas a lot of people can now get a more of a read-only view, which is pretty useful. So Jeff and Mark, thank you very much for your questions. They were extremely timely and helped me out no end. I am going to wrap that up then. I was hoping to keep it to this amount of time because I don't want to kind of bore anybody. If you have, one last question, Carol Ives, can you export and import MS project plans? You can import a Microsoft project plan, yes. There are a couple of caveats at the moment. Project for the Web has a limit currently of 500 tasks in a project schedule, although again, that is planned to change. And you can export it back to Excel. There's no export back to an MPP file. The other thing then is, in terms of that, Carol, there are some third-party options. So see if I can get you some details around that. And Jeff, the links, yeah, we'll make those links available to you afterwards because they are embedded into the PowerPoint deck. So we will get those to you as well. So excellent. All right. If there are any other questions, then feel free to drop me an email, cpond, C-P-O-N-D, @cps.co.uk. You can find me on LinkedIn. And just like to thank you very much for your time today. Hope you found it useful. Obviously, we'd love to work with you. So if you want to have a chat and speak more specifically about your requirements, we'll be in touch, or feel free to contact us. Wish you a fantastic rest of the day and look forward to speaking to you in the future.